Hi everyone, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm gonna be doing a little bit of a different approach today. Since I live in the U.S. and sadly, it's becoming like very difficult to get by month. Um, I think that it is a good idea that we start watching videos that can give us a little bit of insight into what is happening and why is it happening, and maybe find a way of seeing what we can do from now on, or what can be done, do we what should we expect from the government and to change in this new administration that is coming. And I came across this video talking about what Elon Musk is thinking, because he is part of the government now. So w- what is it? What is his plan? What is he gonna do? And if it's gonna be good for us, the overall like mid class of this country. So yeah, that's why I'm watching this, and let's jump right into it. And if you're interested in it, you can also watch it with me.
Path to bankruptcy. America's on a path to bankruptcy. So we have to cut government spending, or we're just going to go bankrupt, just like a person would.
As we all know, recently Donald Trump won the US election, and one person that took center stage in it all was Elon Musk. Musk was actually one of the Trump campaign's largest individual donors, pledging over $100 million to support the campaign. But interestingly, his involvement with Trump isn't stopping at just campaign support, as Elon is now expected to take an active role within the Trump administration. You might have seen this meme floating around in the last few weeks featuring Donald Trump, UFC founder Dana White, and Elon Musk, with the caption reading, "We're looking at the new CEO, CMO, and CTO of America." And in the case of Elon Musk, it appears to be true that he will take on a sizable role in the government as head of government efficiency.
At the suggestion of Elon Musk, I will create a government efficiency commission tasked with conducting a complete financial and performance audit of the entire federal government and making recommendations for drastic reforms. And Elon...
By the way, I really think that if every company gets audited like yearly, right? I think it's a yearly thing, or twice a year, or one time a year. They get audits done. So yes, the government should get audited. Why not? We need to see what they're spending the money on, because I saw something the other day that they were spending money or saying thousands of dollars, or I don't know how much they've been sending to some other people's country to tell them that helmets work, which is very stupid. Why are we spending money on that? And who is the one sending the money to do that? Who thought that that was a good idea? Why don't they do their own experiments on their country? Why do we have to do it?
Because he's not very busy.
I mean, it's my tax dollars too.
Has agreed to head that task force.
So what is Elon Musk's role going to be? Is it going to be a good thing, or is it just going to be one big conflict of interest? Elon Musk, as was recently confirmed, is set to become the head of what he calls the Department of Government Efficiency, or you guessed it, Doge for short.
I think the funniest name is DOGE, the Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency.
And from what he said so far, it seems his primary goal is to simply cut out all the waste and inefficiency that's currently seen in the government. And from my research, this all boils down to two key objectives. One, reducing the government deficit, and two, deregulation. Now, I'll talk about both, but I want to start with the idea of reducing the deficit. So much like a person, the government has income and it has expenses. And if it wants to spend more than it earns, it has to take on debt to afford it. Similar to us, if we want to buy a new car, but we can't afford it, then we have to take out a loan to buy the car. Now, the problem with the US is that every year since 2000, the government has spent more than it earns each year. As you can see, for fiscal year 2024, the government collected 4.92 trillion in revenue and had 6.75 trillion in expenses. In the income column, we have 49% from individual income taxes, 35% from social security taxes, 11% from corporate taxes, and then smaller amounts from customs duties, excise taxes, estate and gift taxes, and other. And then over in the spending column, we can see that 22% goes to Social Security, 14% to health, 13% on interest, 30% on Medicare, 13% on defense, 10% on income security, and then lesser amounts for veterans benefits, education, transport, regional development, and all the other stuff. But now this is the important part. Because the United States government consistently spends more than it earns each and every year, that leaves a shortfall, and that shortfall has to be made up by the government selling bonds. It's essentially like an IOU. Investors give money to the US government and the US pays them back after a certain period of time. But the problem with this is these bonds require the government to pay interest. And as the debt pile grows and grows, so does the interest section on the expenses side of the equation. And that only makes the deficit worse. And on top of that, there's the compounding factor at the moment of higher interest rates. So because the government runs a deficit, when their debts come due, they actually can't pay them back. So what they do instead is they will take on new debt to help pay down the old one. But the problem with this is if you took on $1 million of debt at 1% interest, and now you have to refinance at say 5% interest, that also starts to snowball the interest expense of the country. For the same outstanding debt, your interest expense is now higher thanks to the higher interest rates. And all of this is what Elon Musk has drawn attention to recently. This was him on Joe Rogan a few weeks back.
This whole idea of this government efficiency agency.
Yeah, I mean, the idea is pretty simple, is that like we've got this suffocating massive federal bureaucracy. Government spending is like bankrupting the country. Our interest payments on the national debt now exceed the Defense Department budget. The Defense Department budget is like $1 trillion a year. 23% of all government income taxes, tariffs, and everything is just going to pay interest right now. And that number is continually rising. So if we don't do something, the entire government budget will be paying interest.
Yeah.
There won't be money for anything. No, there won't be money for Social Security. There won't be money for Medicare, nothing.
Nothing.
That's where we're headed. It's like, hello, wake up. Wake up. So we have to cut government spending, or we're just going to go bankrupt, just like a person would if that overspends.
Elon sees the deficit worsening over time. He sees
like
the
a
refinancing of government debt at high interest rates, ballooning the interest expense of the country. And
it's like me. It's like every month I have to have a certain amount of money to make it through the month, or else I'm done. I was like the same thing.
He wants to change that. But the first step in stopping the snowballing pile of debt is to put the US in a position where, after all is said and done in a given year, it doesn't need to take on more debt. And that means America needs to either increase its income or reduce its expenses to eliminate the deficit and return to a budget surplus. And in Elon's planned role as the head of government efficiency, he wants to go through and tackle this issue by eliminating a lot of wasteful spending.
There are expenditures that don't make a lot of sense, that are wasteful, and we need to put a stop to that. Honestly, there's so much government waste that's going on that I would call it a target-rich environment. Like, it's hard, like, in every direction. There's this just mad waste, and I think simply, if people simply know that, well, if they waste a ton of taxpayer money, they're going to get fired, that will immediately improve the situation. Immediately.
And this is exactly what he's got experience in from running SpaceX, Tesla, and more recently, X.
Every single one of those buildings that the government has that need funding for this, need funding for that, they should at least once a year, they should give you like a, how do you call this? Oh my God, my English. Like a resume, like a paper saying where did they spend this money onto, and why is it important for the American people, because you are for the people. Why is it important for you to spend this money, and how does it help the American people? I think they need to justify every single bit of money that they're getting, because this is our taxes. This is the money that we pay all the time, and they are wasting it, or whatever they're doing that they're making. It's just, they always resort to increase the taxes on the middle class, because they're not going to increase the taxes on the rich people. No, they're not going to do that. They're going to increase it on us, and we are already struggling.
Tesla, he focused heavily on streamlining operations, reducing costs across the supply chain, and enhancing the profitability of the company while improving affordability for their customers. SpaceX is a testament to his commitment to optimization, where each advancement is aimed at either reducing rocket weight or maximizing cost effectiveness. I mean, the whole reason that rocket got caught by the chopsticks in the first place is because they deleted the landing legs to save weight. That's an optimization. And then, of course, we know most dramatically at Twitter, remember that Musk was able to implement substantial cost-cutting measures, notably reducing the workforce by 80%, while maintaining the platform's core functionality. Now, some of those initiatives obviously weren't popular, but they were effective. And that's what he's all about, creating lean and effective operations. And it's that skill set that he now wants to bring to the US government.
The Department of Government Efficiency, what that's going to do is really just take a look at all the federal expenditures and say if something is not, if you're not getting great value for money for your hard-earned tax dollars, cancel it. I would like to say it's a hard job, but actually it's not because there's so much waste. So I actually think this is a fairly easy job, although it will get a lot of opposition naturally from the entrenched interests that get the money and do nothing good with it. They'll be grumpy about it.
I hope they are.
The American people will be very happy that their tax dollars are being spent in a much more sensible way.
And it obviously remains to be seen exactly what Elon will take a swing at, but one thing he has discussed quite extensively over the past few weeks and months is government agencies.
Although, it is very scary that, because a lot of people don't, like, there's a lot of people that don't like Elon, but let's be honest, he looks like a person that knows what he's doing. And if an asshole is what we need in the government to do what is necessary to be done, then welcome, asshole.
And this now leads us to the second part of the role that Elon wants to take, which is improving the efficiency of the government by consolidating or removing government agencies. And this has two intended outcomes: to reduce the running costs of the government and also to start to deregulate or untangle the overlapping web of bureaucracy that naturally, as a function of the system, stifles America's advancement.
We're spending money on all these government agencies, and I actually asked the AI.
Like I saw something that Donald Trump was saying the other day, that he was like going to take off the Department of oh my God, what is it, the name? I'm dumb. I'm gonna put it over here probably. But basically, like the people that are in charge of schools, he wants to get rid of those. And I'm like, okay, but then if you do that, wouldn't that affect like the way that everybody's learning, which books everybody's using? What if everybody's not using the same books? Then like someone from the South is going to call there's going to be a thing that someone from the South are going to call it one way, and then someone from the North is going to call it a different way, which is, I think, is not good. You know what I mean? And pardon, because I know, like, I'm not well versed in English, but I think I'm getting my point across. Like, if you get rid of the agencies that regulate, like, what books are being used on schools, then it's gonna be a mess, which is something that I don't agree with Trump right now. Like, maybe make it more efficient, but don't get rid of it.
Like, how many government agencies are there? And the government isn't even sure how many government agencies there are. Like, so it's like somewhere around 450, depending on what you call an agency at the federal level. So that's almost twice as many agencies as years that America has existed. So we're creating agencies at roughly 2 agencies a year.
Wow.
Yes, this is crazy. So we've got this vast, suffocating federal bureaucracy that just gets bigger every year. And it eventually gets to the point where everything's illegal. You can't get anything done.
And this is where Musk's perspective on government reform becomes a bit more complex and, to a lot of people, much more political. I think most people can appreciate the idea of trying to right the ship when we're talking about the deficit, but when we start to talk about deregulation, this is where people tend to draw their own lines in the sand, some for deregulation and others against. Now, I want to say that I am not at all trying to get political or enforce an opinion onto you guys. As I said on Instagram recently, I'm just a 29-year-old Australian dude, and I don't think most Americans would appreciate me chiming in and telling them how they should or shouldn't run their country. But I do still want to show Elon Musk's point of view because, of course, it gives us context as to...
You are Australian and I'm Dominican, but I live in this country.
the topic of this video, which is what...
And also, you're making it easier to understand to a person like me. So, thank you.
Will Elon Musk's role in the government likely entail? And in Elon's view, he has been very critical of over-regulation in the United States, frequently using the football field analogy. This is the idea that the game works best when there's 1 or 2 or maybe 3 referees on the field, depending on which football you're talking about. And that makes for an exciting game where the players can play, but the rules are still enforced. But what you don't want is for there to be 10, 20, 50, 100, 200 referees on the field, because as you put more and more referees on the field, there's less and less space and freedom for the players to play. The game obviously breaks down. And this is the analogy that Elon commonly uses for the state of American over-regulation.
For SpaceX, Starship was sitting on the pad, the rocket, this giant rocket. We could build the rocket faster than they could process the paperwork to approve the launch. So we're sitting there for 2 months. If you're dealing with one agency, that's one thing. But if you've got to deal with 5 agencies, and the agencies will have to meet with each other, now you've got like 25 different meeting configurations that have to take place. You get just hardening of the arteries. You just can't make progress. Like, this is why we can't build high-speed rail in America. It's basically illegal.
Musk's call for deregulation, however, obviously isn't without controversy. At the end of the day,
Yo, the moment he said build a higher speed rail, I want that. Like a train that can go everywhere and anywhere. If they build that, that will be awesome. Awesome.
Regulations are often established for safety, environmental protection, and consumer rights. So the idea of...
I mean, not saying that we don't have that. We have trains in the United States that go to one place to one place, but they're like very outdated. Very. And if any of you that's watching this video has ever gone to New York, oh my God. The subway system is horrible. It's horrible. It does take you from point A to point B, but it's full of rats. It stinks, and it's so slow. The trains are always broken. There's always like a line that is not working. It needs to be repaired in a way that is efficient and in a way that is helping the American people from New York. And not just from New York. I hope to see trains like everywhere. Because as I said, I am Dominican. We have train in Dominican. And it has eased the overall experience of drivers around the country. And like very low income people can move from their houses to just like the subway and get to their jobs on time, every day. So if that is implemented in this country, it will be a good thing, and it's not a bad thing, okay? So that just like a little thing that I would really like it.
Scaling them back raises legitimate concerns. Critics worry that loosening regulations might lead to reduced safety standards or fewer protections for the public. For example, consider the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, or NHTSA, which enforces vehicle safety standards like seatbelts, airbags, and crash tests. Now, while this is
Yeah, but isn't that enforced by the law enforcement?
Admittedly a reasonably extreme example, if these regulations were weakened or removed, it raises the question, would automakers continue to prioritize safety, or would they be tempted to cut corners to reduce costs? While there may be potential for streamlining...
Well, that is true. Give me 1 second.
are impacted before it's reinstated. And in some cases, that temporary gap could have serious consequences for public safety, the environment, or other critical areas. So it's a fine line to walk in the regulation versus deregulation debate. Another concern raised is the potential for job losses. Consolidating or cutting back government agencies would inevitably lead to some layoffs, and that's a tough reality. Losing a job is hard for anyone, and it's understandable why people worry about this aspect. Now, Elon has addressed this concern directly, and in his view, he doesn't want to cause anyone undue economic hardship.
The point is not that people suffer economic hardship. The point is just that there are more productive things they can do in the economy.
But what if, because what if one of those like the regulations that are needed for safety and stuff, can they not just be done by one single building? Why is there that, like, there is a building for that one, and then there's a building for another one, and there's another building for this and for that and for that? Why cannot just be done by a singular area? Why does it have to be like trickled down into all of these little referees?
And it'd be better if they did these other more productive things, and we didn't have this vast federal bureaucracy. So I was like, maybe like a couple years of pay would be good, and then they could take a vacation, they could take another job and get double pay. I mean, it's not going to create an economic crisis. I think it's actually going to be really good. I think because people can move to where they're making products and services that are more useful to their fellow human beings.
So that's the argument around potential job losses, but beyond that, there is one really big issue that definitely does need to be addressed, and it's causing quite a bit of stir right now. And that is, if Elon is in charge of this deregulation in America, well, it's kind of a conflict of interest, right? If Musk takes on this role in the Trump administration, then he would potentially have influence over regulations that directly affect his own companies like SpaceX or Tesla. Elon has previously voiced frustration with regulatory bodies such as the FAA, which he feels has been slow to approve launches for SpaceX, and also with the NHTSA, which enforces safety standards affecting Tesla. Now, while a lot of people trust Musk's intentions, putting him in a position to alter regulations that impact industries...
Ooh, that's a big one. Because it is true. What is it? Why... It could be like he just wants to cut costs on some things that benefit him and make him richer.
Where he has significant investments naturally raises concerns. This isn't necessarily a question of Musk's character, it's more about the risks inherent in allowing someone with vested interests to influence government policy in these areas. On the one hand, there is certainly massive scope for cost reduction in the US government that would definitely benefit America's financial position, but at the same time, there are concerns on the other side of the equation too.
I think we need to take a look at all federal expenditures and say, is this really benefiting the American people or is it not? And if it is, well, are we spending it wisely? Well, usually the answer is no. So then we should spend less money and spend it efficiently. But there's got to be a clear benefit to the American people or we shouldn't be spending money. And I think we also want to have extreme transparency. So like no shady backroom deals or whatever, everything done in the open, total exposure, like you.
The thing is, like, all of the politicians lie, and I don't know if Elon is lying, and he just wants to get around some things, maybe.
You can see the mistakes that are made, the good things that are done. You can comment on it. You can, raise concerns. We want a transparent, open government, and because there will be mistakes that are made. With transparency comes trust. And then you can see, okay, we made a mistake, we'll fix that, we'll do that, and that's the best way to restore trust in government. Not that you should trust government, you shouldn't trust government, but you can trust it slightly more if there's at least transparency.
So hopefully this video gives you a reasonably balanced look at both the pros and the cons of Elon Musk's potential new role in the US government. Definitely let me know your thoughts as well down in the comment section below. Let's keep the discussion going down there.
That's a nice video. Thank you, Australian man, for breaking it down for for me. And for the rest of us that are watching your video, I'm gonna leave his video on the. I'm gonna leave his video below so that you guys can watch it and go give him a like and a subscribe, because I think like he explained it in a way that most of us could understand, and it's a good video. It is a good video, and thank you all guys for watching it with me, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.